What's up, my fellow clout givers? Before I begin this mod review, I just want to say that the support I've been given for the past week or so has been wild, and I'm very appreciative about it. You all have been fantastic. I've gained so many new subscribers. My latest video has over 80,000 views, which is absolutely nuts, and I didn't even know that was possible for me to accomplish. I never thought I would make this kind of impact on YouTube, but here I am at over 3,000 subscribers, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Anyways, you may remember back in my Risk of Rain 2 review that I had a section talking about the mods for this game. I always found quite the amount of interest in these mods, so for a while I've had the idea of going over them one by one, more specifically the player characters. I hope that's something you all take interest in, because I've had this idea for a while now, and it looks like barely any people took their time to review these modded characters, so I'll be the one to do so. How I'm going to review these characters is with these key things on what I think a Risk of Rain 2 mod needs in order to be good. Is the character unique? Is the character fun to play? And how good is the extra content? This is how I'll begin reviewing these mods to see if they're worth playing. With all that said, I hope you all enjoy the video. Amp is a modded Risk of Rain 2 character that is based around lightning and agile melee attacks. Upon selecting the character, you are greeted with a wide variety of options for your character's moveset. His attacks comprise of ranged electricity attacks and melee attacks that create debuffs. I like the variety that this character has when it comes to creating a moveset, and they all have their unique uses, especially when you combine them with certain items. Your default primary is Modified Shock Blade, which is a quick melee attack that applies a debuff on enemies known as Charge. How Charge works is that when you apply 3 stacks of it onto an enemy, you create an explosive attack that deals more damage. Keep in mind that this can be for one enemy, but the damage goes even higher when you stack 3 charges on multiple enemies at once. Your default secondary is the Lorentz Cannon. You create 6 bullets made of iron sand and fire them, each bullet doing 140% damage. It can be hard to aim with this attack, but the important thing to note is that if you are fighting an enemy that has the charge debuff, the Lorentz Cannon will go towards that specific enemy, so they pretty much turn into homing missiles, which is really cool. The first alternate secondary is Magnetic Vortex. You create a singularity that pulls enemies towards itself, and after a short period of time it explodes for 400% damage. If you want to pull a bunch of enemies into one spot and deal lots of damage in the process, you should go with this secondary. It's really fun to use, especially with large hordes of enemies. The other alternate secondary is Plasma Slash, where you do a large slash with your sword that deals 700% damage, and it applies the burn debuff on them, causing damage over time. If you do Plasma Slash while airborne, you create a slash projectile that will deal 500% damage and cause burn as well. But if you apply the charge debuff on an enemy and use either of these attacks on them, the burn debuff will be stronger. Overall, all of these secondary abilities are really good. My favorite is the Magnetic Vortex. Your default utility is Surge. When you use it, you transform into lightning and can travel good distances. You also gain invulnerability in the process. If you are using Surge while near an enemy, you'll deal 150% damage. After 2 seconds though, you will go back to your original state, causing an explosion that deals 300% damage. This ability is kinda busted if you give yourself the Hard Light Afterburner, because then you can use Surge multiple times, which gives you even more invulnerability. Goes to show you how items can change things up in this game, which is why I love it. The alternate utility is Pulse Leap. This is basically your dash, and you can store up to 3 charges. This dash also causes an explosion that deals 400% damage at close range. Good set of utilities. They serve the same purpose, which is advanced movement, but they are mechanically different. Your default special is Fulmination. When used, you turn into Emperor Palpatine with unlimited power, and fire a large stream of electricity towards enemies at close range. This attack has a somewhat similar effect to the ukulele, as when you hit enemies with this attack, it will fire a chain lightning that hits other enemies nearby. This attack in total deals 2200% damage, and it also has a 25% chance to apply the charge debuff that I mentioned earlier. Your first alternate special is Voltaic Bombardment. It's a lightning bolt, and it deals 1400% damage, and is double charged. If you use this ability on yourself, however, you gain bonus attack speed and movement speed. It's not a major difference, but it is a good boost. You could try giving yourself this buff when enemies are nearby. Finally, there's the other alternate special known as Bulwark of Storms. When used, you summon an overloading worm, whose name is apparently Melvin, who will remain on the map for 30 seconds before departing. Melvin also inherits all of the items you have, so this is a really good ability for crowd control. However, the cooldown for this ability is really long. Fantastic choice of moveset overall. I like all of these abilities and how they function. The charge debuff is unique and can be very useful at times. My favorite moveset for this character is Magnetic Vortex, Surge, and Fulmination. Occasionally I'll use Bulwark of Storms if I'm feeling lucky, and sometimes I'll use Lorentz Cannon if I want to become the fastest amp in the West. This is fun. Is this character unique? Yes, it is. The character design is good because he stands out compared to the other characters, and I also like the color scheme. Not only does he have some unique abilities as well, but you have a good variety of options to choose from for how you want to play as him. I also like the different skins that this character has. However, there's a huge problem I've encountered with these skins. I started a run with the red skin, but at some point during my run, it changes my skin back to the default blue. I hope this gets fixed soon because I like this red skin a lot, and I hate how it changed me back to the default skin later down the line. With the character being unique in mind, is it fun to play? Well, in my experience, yes it is. I highly recommend giving this character a try, and see for yourself on what your favorite moveset is for Amp. It's really well designed in terms of its mechanics. How good is the extra content? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you have a really good variety of moves, and you have the alternate skins. Extra content is solid, but I think the extra skins should be locked behind achievements. Maybe for the red skin, make it a mastery skin where you have to beat the game on Monsoon difficulty with this character to unlock it. As for this skin, it could be ultimately up for something ability related, but it's up to the modder themselves if they want to make these changes. My favorite items for this character: Soldier Syringe, Backup Magazine, Rose Buckler, Leeching Seed, Hard Light Afterburner, and Alien Head. When stacking these items for this character, I feel very powerful, especially with items like the Hard Light Afterburner. Another criticism I have with Amp, however, in relation to items, is that Voltaic Bombardment can be cancelled if you try spamming it. I stacked a bunch of Lysate cells for Voltaic Bombardment, and every time I tried using it as fast as I could, the attack would be cancelled unless if I wait for it to go off. I think it would be better to change it so that you can spam it if you stacked on Lysate cells. Otherwise, this attack feels useless when combined with that item. In conclusion, Amp is a really good modded character for Risk of Rain 2 despite some of its technical issues. I give Amp a solid 8 out of 10. Very good character, I highly recommend trying it out. Let me know in the comments which mod I should review next. But thank you all for watching, be sure to subscribe because I need clout.
It's high noon.